Let's begin our class reclined. So coming all the way down to your back. You could set yourself up if you wanted to in kind of a Shavasana-like state before you were waking up. I'm going to take a Supta Baddha Konasana. My soles of my feet together and my knees wide, my arms more or less outstretched. And if neither one of those options really suits you, then I invite you to find a position with your body that feels relaxed. And if for any reason that being on your back does not feel that way, then I invite you to take a different posture where you feel more supported. Allow yourself to have a soft gaze, breathing softly and recognizing the rhythm of your own breath. Taking some time to scan your body from toes to top to toes. Does anything feel particularly warm or cool or loose or tight or asleep or invigorated? Myriad of other descriptors that you might experience. And I invite you to set a dedication or intention for this practice. And if you'd like, you can place your hands on your torso or another place on your body, and we can allow them to stay outstretched, whatever position you began in. Deepening your breath, feeling your breath if you have your hands on your body, as though the breath could reach all the way to where your hands are. And if you've chosen not to take that kind of position, simply imagine that your breath goes all the way down through your torso to your hips and all the way up on the exhale. Allow your thoughts to drift to dedication or intention. It might be something very small this morning, but if there's something that tugs you in that direction, why don't you indulge that? And then we'll take a few breaths together as we breathe life into these intentions. Deep breath in. Come all the way to the top of your breath. Hold for just a moment. Then exhale, release. Maybe exhaling through pursed lips, especially if there's something that may be causing you some agitation. Another deep breath in. Satisfying exhale. And then once more on your own. And then from the position that you've taken, start to bring your knees in closer to your chest. So this might involve bending your knees from a knees wide position, or maybe you were sitting upright and now you'd like to come to your back. Inward relieving pose, your hands to your shins or the backs of your thighs, a little rocking from side to side. Waking up some of the sensations in the back of your body. So as you roll from side to side, just noticing where your mat is pressing into your back. Feeling that sensation a little bit more acutely than maybe you typically do. Experience the way the back of your body feels. And we'll take a gentle supine twist. Keep your right knee in and extend your left leg out. Draw your knee across your body. And then adjust your torso as much as you'd like, pulling the left side of your rib cage up. And then maybe send your gaze over to the right side. Noticing those places that might have felt tight. And then on an exhale, take your head and your knee back to center. Extend the right leg out, left knee pulls in. Same but different, twist to the opposite side. And then take your head and knee back to center once again. Place your feet into the mat with bent knees. And we're going to take a bridge flow just to start to warm up again the back side of our body. So first, really press down through your feet. Press down through the big toe mound, little toe mound, and the center of your heel. Lift up on all of your toes so you can press down even more. So a lot of times when we do this engagement, we're standing up And so when we have less pressure on our feet, you might be able to find a little bit more nuance here without the weight of your body pressing down. All right, and then slowly release your toes down to the mat, but still feel that engagement of big toe mound, little toe mound, center of heel. So you're still kind of lifting up the inside arches of your feet. On an inhale, reach your arms up and back, lift your hips up. Maybe release your heels away from the mat, lifting up so you're still pressing down through the balls of your feet. And then on an exhale, wave it all the way back down. Hips, hands, and heels release down, press down to the center of your heels. Really engage. Inhale, lift up, wave it up and back to a bridge variation. Exhale, take it all the way back. If you're lifting heels, very carefully and intentionally press your heels back down into the mat, really strong. And again, inhale, lift up and back. So kind of a slower version, really connecting, really grounding down. Okay, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Draw your left thigh in close to you, interlace your fingers behind your thigh or your calf. There's kind of just whatever feels better for you. I like to take the space between my thigh rather than behind my calf. But there's really just whatever feels better for you. Everyone has a preference in this, strong or slight. Drawing your left thigh closer to you, a little flexion to your right foot, a little flexion to your left, soft through your jaw. And then release the left thigh or calf, or your shin. Release the foot down to the mat and then drop both knees over to the left. So another variation of a twist here that is going to be a little bit more deep through the center of your belly. And again, press down through your right foot. Big toe mound, little toe mound, center of heel. And then just take a moment to acknowledge where that engagement is being experienced elsewhere in your body, and in particular in that leg. You need to stabilize the left leg a little bit more or differently when you're pressing down through your right foot. So we're not just laying here, we are doing some work, even though we're doing so in relative stillness. And then on an exhale, take the legs back up. Uncross, place your right foot toward the edge of the mat, left foot toward the other edge of the mat, drop both knees over to the right. And then windshield wiper over to the left. All right, lift your knees right back up and then heel toe your feet back in, hips width distance, cross your left ankle over your right, draw your right thigh into you. And then you're gonna take again a clasp either behind the thigh, across the shin, and take an opposite clasp if you can remember what the first clasp was. Just gently drawing in. Soft through your forehead, soft through the back of the neck. And then release the foot or the thigh. And then drop both legs over to the right so that your left foot is pressed into the floor to the mat. And once again, press through those three corners of your foot, so to speak. So big toe mound, little toe mound, and the center of your heel. Again, notice if it requires a different kind of stabilization for the right leg, which is now on the bottom. Are you feeling it elsewhere in your left leg? Are you feeling it differently from the first leg? I do experience a little bit of a different sensation from one side to the other. Maybe for you, there's a little bit more balance involved. Maybe the differences are a bit more subtle. All right, and then carefully on an exhale, take your legs back up to center, uncross, place your left foot more towards the outside of your mat, right foot more toward the outside, drop both knees over to the left. Some movement in our finger area, and then windshield wiper right over to the right side. And then take your knees back up to center. Once again, take your knees in towards your chest. We're going to come to a seated posture. So if you'd like, you can rock up and down the length of your spine. Again, noting what the sensation is against the back of your body. If that's just a bit too much this morning, then roll over to one side and then come up to a seated pose. And we're gonna come to a Sukasana. I'm gonna take my non-dominant leg in front of me. However, do what feels best for you right now. We're going to take a soft forward fold here. So just bring your hands out in front of you. And then you're going to start to bend your elbows You might find it's more comfortable to walk out your hands a little bit more. You might come to a place where your forearms are completely on the mat. You might just bend your elbows a tiny bit. Let your head drop here. We're going to be here for a little bit. So you might find that after a few breaths, you start to walk yourself forward. This is going to be one of those poses, one of these explorations where your back is bent, your head is more or less relaxed. If your head hanging here is causing discomfort, and not just like, oh my, that's an interesting opening sensation, but actual discomfort, then I invite you to support your head with your fists or some props, or simply, rather than letting your head drop, use the muscles of your neck and your back to lift your head up in line so you've got a straighter line through your back and the back of your skull. And again, if it is okay for you to drop down and you're simply noting this sensation, then I invite you to explore that. You've been here for a couple of breaths. Maybe your hands and your arms can scooch out just a little bit more. Three more breaths here. And then after that third exhale, keeping your head heavy, if you've chosen that option, start to walk your hands in close to you. You're going to slowly wave your way up to seated. First, your shoulders come up over your hips, and then you wave your head all the way up until you're in a seated posture. I'm going to be switching out the cross of my legs. If you'd like to stay in the same position you are, then please do that. On an inhale, bring both hands up toward the ceiling. Send your gaze upward. Then on an exhale, twist to the left. Right hand to the left thigh, left fingertips behind you or even to your low back. Point your left elbow more behind you if you can so that your left shoulder doesn't crank forward. Just kind of guide it back. Kind of undoing that forward fold we just did. Send your gaze back towards the front. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, twist the other side. So left hand toward the left thigh, right hand to the ground behind you or to your low back, elbow pointing straight back, and then shrug your right shoulder back so that the front of your shoulder, like that head part, isn't leaning forward. It's actually helping you to take a little bit of a deeper twist, maybe sending your gaze over, like you could send your chin beyond your right shoulder as well. Again, doing a little bit of undoing of that forward fold. And then on an inhale, take your arms back up toward the center. And on an exhale, bring your hands into your heart. Roll over onto your hands and your knees. So you're in a tabletop pose. And then first, maybe tuck your toes pretty deeply so that you can get a stretch through the backs of your feet, the fronts of your feet. And then you're going to walk your hands out to the side, just kind of waddling. So starting to turn your fingertips out. And then maybe you get to a place where you can point your fingertips back toward your knees. Maybe they come all the way back, maybe not. Again, this is a kind of an exploration place, and from day to day, this might change. Another thing you can do, you can start to send your hips back for a deep stretch across the insides of your forearms and your wrists, tops of your hands, palms of your hands. Again, just give yourself some moments to listen, to explore. Maybe, but not necessarily, your dominant arm feels a little differently than the non-dominant. Maybe yeah, maybe nah. All right, then come forward. If you send that shifty shift back, your fingertips still pointing back towards your knees. You're going to flip to the backs of your hands. So again, fingertips are still pointing towards your body, your wrists away. Elbows out, bulldogness, not chaturanga, and then bring your fingertips into a fist. This alone is kind of intense. And if you're like, I should like to get more intense this morning, start to straighten your elbows. With keeping a fist, I don't think that I can actually fully straighten my elbows. That's fine. Keeping your fists here as best you can. Draw them in. Good morning, hands. I'm sorry that I make you text so much. All right, and then keeping the fist, bend through your elbows, kind of back to where you began, and then allow your fingers to unfurl. Oh yeah. Flip to the tops of your hands once again. And then you're going to shift back onto hips to heels. So you're sitting on your knees. I still have my toes tucked here because I'm going to sit straight up. And I'm going to allow myself to have a little bit of stretch through my foot. Take your hands even to your little pinky toes. And then make sure that they're flipped too. Otherwise, they kind of get mushed under there. Poor pinky toes, they're so forgotten. Right arm up, fingertips up toward the ceiling. Take your left hand and then simply draw your fingertips back. Gently press through your wrist. Release that, fingertips point down. Gently pull towards you as you press to the top of your wrist again. Inner elbow points up. Release that. We're going to switch hands. Left fingertips up. Pull your fingertips toward your shoulder. Gently pressing up through the heel of your hands. Release and then pull your fingertips back down towards you. Inner elbow points up. And then release. Abracadabra your hands in one direction. Abracadabra your hands in the other. Come over to your hands and knees and then flip to the tops of your feet. Maybe find a little bit of blood flow. Tap back and forth. Oh yeah. And we're going to take a cow-cat flow here. So keeping the tops of your feet onto the mat, you're going to shift your hips back towards your heels like a modified child's pose. Long stretch through your arms. Inhale, rise to your knees. Maybe palms pressed together, lift up. Maybe slight back bends, a little tension to your bum to protect your low back. Exhale, bow all the way down. Back to your modified child. On an inhale, keep your belly low, elbows point back, slither forward, eventually straighten your elbows, coming into a cow pose. Exhale, round your way into a cat, chin to chest, really press the mat away from you, everything that's touching it, and send your hips back to your heels, long stretch to the sides of your body. Let's do this again. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bow all the way down. Slither your heart forward for your cow pose. Arch your back, pull your hips and your ribs toward each other, chin into chest for the cat. Send your hips back to your heels. Let's do this one more time. Inhale, rise to your knees, flare through your toes as you do this. Exhale, bow all the way down. Keep your arms out way, way, way long. Slither forward for your cow. Exhale, press up into your cat. Tuck your toes here. Check out your hands. Make sure that your fingertips are spread wide. Your inner elbows are pointed forward, and then hover your knees away from the mat. Start to take a few deep breaths here. Imagine that your arms can get even longer, pressing the mat away from you, arching your back, tucking your hips in just a little bit more. And then start to release back. Step your feet back till you're in a plank pose. Option to drop your knees down once again here. Inner elbows are pointing forward, lifting up through your inner thighs, building some heat. How did we get here? All of a sudden it's warm. And then on an exhale, take your chin to your chest, puff up your back, rock up and back to downward facing dog. Oh yes. An inversion. Deep inhale. And a full exhale. Bend your knees pretty deeply and then walk your hands back to you so you're at a forward fold at the back of your mat. Let's take a ragdoll pose here first. So again, a little bit of exploration of where are these subtle changes. You can take your elbows in your hands, index fingers to hook at your low back. You might interlace all of your fingers for really active stretch through your shoulders while still keeping your knees bent, still keeping your head loose. Maybe try one or another. Maybe you're like someone who likes to sway. And then whichever option you've taken. If you took a bind of any kind, start to release your fingertips just to hang. They don't have to touch the mat. And then 3 times from here, we're going to take a halfway lift. So getting really active into our bodies once again. Inhale, fingertips to your shins or the mat. Lift up halfway, press your feet down and away from each other. You might feel activity in your low belly and the outsides of your hips. Exhale, keeping all that activity, forward fold. Again, inhale, halfway lift. Look out, shoulder blades back. Exhale, forward fold. Once more like this. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. So you might feel that a lot through your hamstrings. Bend your knees fairly generously again. Walk your hands back out to that downward facing dog shape. Take a moment here. Let's see if we've got the right distance. Takes a lot of practice to get there, and let's check our work. So on an inhale, lift up your heels, roll to the top of the plank pose. Do we generally have shoulders over wrists or our heels too far back? Make your adjustments as you need. Just breathe. And then shrug your shoulders back, look forward, keep your belly strong. Gonna flip to the tops of our feet for a pointed plank pose. I know, all of that running, I bet you can feel this right now. So you're in a pointed plank. Option is stay here, or if you'd like to move with me into a deeper back bend, continue to pull your low belly in, shrug your shoulders back, allow your hips to release down toward the mat very gently with resistance, upward facing dog. 2 more breaths here. Keep pressing the mat away from you. And then on your next exhale, start to lift your hips up. Toes are still pointed. Make your way to a pointed down dog and then flip to the tops of your feet. Downward facing dog. Bend your knees, look towards the top of your mat, and on an exhale, travel all the way to the top. Step, hop, jump, mini steps, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, look out. Exhale, fold, release. Reverse swan dive, come up all the way to standing. And then on an exhale, take your hands to your heart center. And then arms alongside your body. Once again, we're gonna see what it feels like this time, pressing into the mat in our Tadasana pose. So lifting up on all of your toes can help you to press down to the mat, lift up through your arches of your feet, lift up on your kneecaps. And then softly, intentionally place your feet back down onto the mat. On an inhale, lift your arms up toward the ceiling, pinkies toward each other. Bend your knees, sit your hips low. Feet are about hips width distance for this variation of our Utkatasana chair pose. And then lift up your heels. So you're really pressing down again. So this might feel a little bit like when we were taking that bridge flow earlier. But things are gonna get fun. On an exhale, swing your arms back, start to lift your hips up. Drinking bird, tilt forward. Maybe your torso gets parallel with the mat. Maybe keeping your heels lifted, make your way back to the heels lifted, fierce pose. Utkatasana, much too much pose. Do it again, exhale, swing your arms back. Maybe heels stay lifted. Come right back up to that. Heels lifted, fierce pose. And then release your heels down. Shift the weight to your right leg, step your left foot all the way back. And wiggle it back a little bit further. Sit your right thigh even lower. On an exhale, take your hands down toward the mat. Low lunge. More weight to your left palm. Peel your right fingertips up toward the ceiling for a low lunge twist. Reach your right arm behind you. And then draw your right arm up and over your head. Pinky is down. Maybe send your gaze with your thumb. Again, come up all the way over. Reaching your right hand back like it's going to reach to the left foot. Take it up and over your head again. And then one more time like this, take one large arc. And then come back to that open armed version. And at any time, you can always take your right hand down to your hip. Spin all your toes away from you for an IT band stretch. Flex your both feet, lift up your hips. You're on the razor edge of your left foot. And then on an exhale, send all your toes back to the front. Take your right hand down to the mat. Release your left knee down. Anjayanasana, arms lift up. Your back toes can be tucked or untucked. Allow your hips to sink down toward the mat and not like floppy style. Let your hips descend down. Don't let your right hip swing out to the side, your right knee swing out to the side. Keeping things really active here. Everything that's pressing down toward the mat has got a job to do, really connecting. And then on an exhale, release your hands back down to frame the front foot. Shift your hips back. We're gonna take an Ardha Hanumanasana pose. So half splits, half Hanuman pose. Flex your right toes towards your face. Inhale, lift up. And then exhale, descend your chest down towards your thigh. Shoulder blades back. So unlike what we did earlier when we were taking that forward fold in Sukasana, we just kind of like slumped forward. This time, let's take a little bit of a more active approach here. So we want right hip to pull back so that the sides of our torso feel equally long as we hinge forward. All right, if you tilted forward a bit, lift your way back up. Left hand to the outside of the right foot. Lift up the entire leg and then very carefully cross your body so your right heel might even be in line with your left knee. Left hand wherever it feels good to have support. It might be to the left of your leg, it might be to the right. Inhale, lift up. And you're gonna either bow forward or to the right. And if you're like, I'm feeling nothing here, then maybe continue flexing that right foot and then angle your foot in a different direction. Very likely you'll get to a place where you're like, that's an interesting stretch. I'm feeling some things. Fascinating. All right, lift your way back up. Left hand to the right foot again, a little bend to your right knee to help you out. Replace that right heel in line with your right hip. Rebend into the right knee. I'm going to take a variation of a lizard pose. So heel toe your right foot out to the side, and then take your right hand to the inside. So if you're looking down, it's left hand, right hand, then your right foot. Right toes are going to be pointed generally out to the right just a little bit. This is going to depend on how your body is built. Some people are totally fine with their toes facing forward. I find it to be a little bit more forgiving for the foot to be out to the side. Inhale, lift out. And then on an exhale, start to bring your forearms closer to the mat or to a prop. And then for this variation, allow your right knee to drop out to the right. You might come to a place where the sole of your foot is facing out. You're on the razor edge of your foot, maybe mimicking a little bit when we took that side plank, Sukasana pose. Notice if your left heel is trying to splay out to the left, continue to flare through your toes, or even if you've got your toes tucked, flick them out away. All right, if you came down to your forearms, start to press back into your hands, lift the right knee back up. Ooh, yeah. Heel toe your foot back in line, so your foot is in line with your hip. You're back to having hands on either side of the front foot. Tuck your back toes if they weren't already. Lift up that back knee. Then hover your fingertips away from the mat. Make your way up to a high crescent lunge. Allow your hips to drop down. Again, when I say drop down, I don't mean just like, let it go. I mean, with resistance, with control, allowing your hips to descend down toward the mat, allowing the right thigh to become closer to parallel with the mat. Maybe yes, maybe no. Draw your low belly in, deep breath in. On an exhale, swing your arms back and they'll tilt forward, kind of like our drinking bird. Inhale, lift all the way back up again. Exhale, swing the arms back, lean forward. Imagine you could create space between your chest and your thigh. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, arms back, lean forward. All right, release your hands back down to the mat. Step your left foot forward, forward fold, top of your mat. Yes, inhale, halfway lift. Take a moment to explore what does this feel like on the other side of your body, same or different. Exhale, forward fold. Make your way all the way to standing. Maybe swan dive or lift your arms up through the front. Exhale, hands to your heart center. And then arms alongside your body, Tadasana once again. We'll be here for 3 breaths. Engage starting from the bottom of your body, soles of your feet all the way up to the crown of your head. And then after your 3rd exhale, arms lift, shoulders down, pinky ears are up toward each other, sit low, Sukasana pose. Variation with our feet hips width distance apart. So generally in the same kind of a line, second toe, knees, and hips. Hip points, that is. Lift up your heels. All right, swing your arms back, allowing your hips to rise up, lean forward, getting dangerously close to this wall. All right, and then set it back. Heels lifted, fierce pose, drinking bird. Finding a stretch through your quadriceps as well as through your hamstrings. One more time for this drinking bird. Heels lifted if you got it. Set them down if you'd like. Come back to Utkatasana, release your heels down. Shift the weight to the left foot. Stand your right foot all the way to the back of your mat. For your high lunge, sit your hips low. Scissoring your thighs together. This will help your left hip come back and your right back as well. Lifting up to the back of your knee. All right, and then frame your front foot. Let your hands come down. More weight to your right palm, pull your left fingertips up toward the ceiling. Low lunge twist. And then spin all your toes away from you for this IT band stretch. Lift up through your hips, flexing through your right foot. Notice if your right heel is starting to lift it away from the mat. What happens if you guide it down? All right, and then send everything back to the front of the mat. Heels and toes in the same line. Release your right knee down. Anjaneyasana, arms lift. Again, finding that same scissoring action. Your back toes can be tucked or untucked. Send your hips down and forward. It doesn't have to be much. It could be more of an idea rather than a movement that's got Lots and lots of physical distance. All right, now on an exhale, frame the front foot. Shift your hips back. Let's take that half Hanuman pose. Left toes flex towards your face. Inhale, reach your heart towards your toes. And on an exhale, start to hinge forward. And so we're still, again, unlike the forward fold shape that we took toward the beginning of class when we slouched over. So you can keep this one just a little bit more lengthened. And that extended leg does not need to be fully extended. All right, lift up halfway once again. Right hand to the outside of your left foot. Keep your knee bent for this as you lift up your entire leg and then cross your body. So your left heel is kind of in line with your right knee. Right hand to the outside or to the left, lift out, and then you're gonna bow kind of to the left, maybe more toward the front. Give yourself a chance to take a look and see what works. And then if you're still not feeling it, keeping the left foot flexed, begin to angle your toes in a different direction. This is also one that's just so good from having been seated all day. If you're one who does that. All right, lift up, take your right hand to the outside of your left foot, realign your heel with your hip once again, bend into the front knee. And we're gonna take that lizard variation once again. So walk your left foot to the outside and yogi's choice if you'd like to have your left foot angled out. Mine's at like almost a 45-degree angle here. I've got my hands to the mat, heart lifting up, and I'm gonna start to bend my elbows, maybe coming down to forearms or blocks or some other prop. And then allow your left knee to drop out to the left. With your right foot, attempt to keep the heel pointing straight up. So again, if that is toes untucked, you're flaring your toes and engaging the leg. If you've got your toes tucked, you're flicking the mat away from you and bringing that inner heel more towards your midline. All right, bring the left leg back up, take your knee in, press into your hands into the mat. Realign your left heel with your left hip. So your left hand is on the outside. Tuck your back toes if not already, and start to extend that back knee. Maybe walk the foot back a bit. And then when you're ready, lift up, high crescent lunge. Beautiful, beautiful. Keep spiking up to the back heel. On an exhale, you're going to swing your arms back. Your palms are down, lean forward. Try to evoke some of that drinking bird sensation. Inhale, come right back up to your high crescent lunge. Exhale, swing it back, leaning forward. Inhale, high lunge. Last time like this. Reach your arms back and heart forward. And then release your hands down to the mat. So you're back to the low lunge. Step your right foot forward to the top of your mat. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, look out. Exhale, fold once again. Press through your feet. Lift all the way up. Upward prayer. Exhale, hands to your heart center. Swing your arms out and up once again. And then you're going to take your right fingertips to your left wrist. You're going to arc over to the right and send your hips over to the left. Maybe, if you've got some paper lanterns, maybe hit them with your hands a little bit. Yogi's choice. Take it back up to center, release, and then take your left fingertips to your right wrist. Arc over to the left, hips over to the right. Inhale, come up to center once again, and release the grip you've taken. Exhale, forward fold, take it all the way down, release. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Bend your knees as deeply as you'd like. We're gonna take a forward fold twist here. So again, finding length through the sides of our bodies here. Left hand directly below your face onto the mat. Bend your knees as much as you need to get there. You could also use a block if you'd like. Right hand to right hip, point your elbow up toward the ceiling. Inner left elbow points forward. Press through your left hand so much that your right shoulder starts to point upward. Left side of your rib cage is wrapping around. If it is comfortable, you can send your chin up. We did a seated twist here. So maybe you're starting to evoke some of these experiences. Different orientation, maybe your right leg becomes a little straighter. If you'd like, lift up your right fingertips toward the ceiling. Every inhale, get a little bit longer through your torso. And every exhale, twist a little bit more deeply. And then when you're ready, take your right hand back down to your hip. Angle your torso back down to the mat. Take your right hand down, place it where your left was, left hand to your left hip. Again, bend your knees as much as you need. Left shoulder shrugs back onto your back. Press through your right hand. Start to tilt the right side of your rib cage upward as you twist. Maybe your left leg gets a little bit straighter. Maybe you're looking beyond your left shoulder. If that's not working for you, keep your chin in line with your sternum. And also left fingertips can lift up toward the ceiling. Inhales lengthen, exhales twist. So think about getting really, really long, especially through the right side of your body. If it helps to come up onto spider fingers here, see how that changes things. And then on an exhale, take your left hand to your left hip, arc everything down, release your fingertips down towards the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, fingertips into the mat or to your shins, look forward, exhale, fold. Bend your knees deeply, place your hands to the mat, step back to the top of a plank pose. And then on an exhale, we're gonna lower all the way down to the mat. Knees up or down, elbows raising the rib cage. Untuck your toes once you're here. We'll take a backwards breath cobra. So take your hands out wider than your mat, elbows pointing up onto your spider fingers. My voice is muffled because my face is into the mat. On an inhale, stay here. Forehead down, low belly in. On an exhale, press through your flared toes and your fingertips. Start to lift your way up, but your head is heavy. Inhale, unfurl, unwind, cobra pose, very dramatic if you'd like. Exhale, wave it all the way back down till your forehead is back to the mat. Inhale, prepare. Low belly in. A little tense through your bum, press through your fingertips and your toes, roll up. Inhale, unravel. Exhale, wind it all the way back down. One more time like this on your own. And then once you're all the way back down, take your hands back in so that the heels of your hands are kind of like, if you're a person who wears a bra, kind of like in line where your the lower part of your bra strap might be. Elbows point straight up, tuck your toes. And then either pressing up to your hands and knees or through chaturanga, lift your way up and then press up and back to downward facing dog. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Bend your knees pretty deeply, look towards the top of your mat. And on an exhale, step or hop to the top of your mat, forward fold, breath in, half lift. Exhale, fold. Make your way all the way up to standing. Keep your arms lifted, feet hips distance, sit low. Lift up your feet. Fierce pose, Uttanasana with heels lifted. Exhale, swing your arms back. Shrinking bird, come forward. Inhale, come back up to the fierce pose, maybe heels lifted. 2 more times like this, move to your own breath. Come back to your fierce pose. Release your heels to the mat. Shift the left leg all the way to the back. You're in a high crescent lunge again. On an exhale, open twist. Right arm comes behind you, left fingertips in front, thumbs up. Give yourself some space for your shoulders. Then release your left hand towards your right hand to left thigh. Left fingertips come up. See if you can still find all that lengthening in your twist like we did in the forward fold twist. And then inhale, come right back up. Exhale, release your hands down to the mat. Angle your left foot down like you're gonna go to warrior 2. We're gonna take a hybrid pose. So walk your torso and your arms at an angle out to the left. I like to stay on my fingertips here. Some folks like to come all the way down to your hands. So your lower body is in a warrior 2. Your upper body is more in an downward facing dog. Keep reaching out to the inside of your right thigh. Allow your head to relax if that is comfortable for you. Start to walk your hands in closer to your torso, straighten the front leg, and then turn your right toes in so your toes are facing toward the long side of your yoga mat. Make sure that your toes are ever so slightly pointed in. Inhale, lift up halfway. And then on an exhale, hinge forward. to a wide-legged fold. Take 3 more breaths here, shifting the weight a little bit more to the balls of your feet. And then when you're ready, lift up halfway. You're gonna walk back towards the front of your mat to a low lunge. Release your left knee down to the mat. Take your left hand out a little bit further, and you're gonna pull your left heel up towards your butt. Cycle your right arm up and back. Maybe you simply reach your foot towards your hand and hand towards your foot, or if you make a connection, let's take this a little bit deeper. Send your hips back towards your heel, and then rebend to the front knee. And even here, long through the sides of your body, start to rotate the left side of your rib cage upward as you pull your heel towards your bum. Continue to press the earth away with your left hand. All right, and then release that back foot if you took a grip. Cycle your right arm all the way back down. And then you're going to take your right foot out to the side once again. Heels out, toes in. Tuck your back toes to lift up your back knee. You're gonna step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. We're gonna move to a Garland pose, Malasana. So find a little bit of movement, front and back. Maybe you take several steps, or on an exhale, launch forward, left foot to the outside. And then start to sit your hips down toward the mat, elbows toward the insides of your thighs. Palms to press together. If your heels start to rise up, roll up your yoga mat and set that underneath your heels with your feet onto the ground instead. Continue to breathe long and slow. Notice if you have developed any tension that is actually not really helping in this pose. Maybe it's grippiness around thoughts. Maybe it's something more physical. And then start to release your fingertips down toward the mat. Slowly lift your hips upward. Heel toe your feet back in till they are below your hips. Inhale, halfway lift, look out. Exhale, fold. 2 more times like this. Inhale, look out. Forward fold. 3rd time. And forward fold. Take your hands to your hips, point your elbows up toward the ceiling, shoulders roll into your back, chin out. Inhale, come up to standing. Exhale, Tadasana, mountain pose. On your next inhale, lift your arms up toward the ceiling. Shoulders down, pinkies wrap toward each other, sit low. Sukasana, lift your heels up. And then if you're moving with me 3 times, we're gonna move to that drinking bird posture. Move with your breath. May take you more time or less time. And then as you find your way back in that Utkatasana pose, release your heels to the mat and then scoot your right foot all the way to the back, maybe a little bit further. High lunge. On an exhale, you're going to twist. Left arm comes behind you, right arm out in front. Thumbs up to give yourself some space through your shoulders. Release your left hand down, maybe towards your right thigh, lift your right fingertips up. Again, you lengthen as you twist. Don't worry so much about like a back bend here. We're trying to find lots of up and down as we twist the right side of our body over to the left. All right, release that, come back to your high lunge. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Angle your right foot down like warrior 2. Get warrior 2 in your body. We're gonna take that hybrid pose. So down dog, warrior 2. Torso and arms out at an angle. Continue to reach your inner thigh forward. Lifting up through the right arch of your foot. You can let your head rest here. Continue to breathe. And then bring your hands in a little bit closer towards your body for support. Straightening or beginning to extend that left knee. Turn your left toes in. Check your work. We want your heels and toes to be in the same line. We're in a wide-legged fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Shift the weight towards the balls of your feet. And then exhale, forward fold. If you've got a headstand practice and you would like to take some time to move into headstand, we are going to be here for several breaths. So please feel free to set yourself up. Take all the time you need. And if you're in a wide-legged fold, you can allow this to be as active or as therapeutic as best serves you. For me this morning, I'm taking a more active approach. Elbows straight back, actively reaching, engaging my core, and reaching my chest and the crown of my head down to the mat. All right, for those of you that still might be in your headstand, start to come down. And it's all as we're ready. Inhale, come up about halfway. Keeping it low, pivot back to the front of the mat so that you're in this low lunge, all toes and heels pointing in the same direction. Release your right knee down toward the mat. Take your right hand out a little bit further. Take the same quadricep stretch. Cycle your left arm up and around, peeling your heel up, either grasping the foot, or if you're looking for active range of motion, don't even grab it. And then you can rebend into that front knee. We're still taking that lengthening and that twisting. Pull your heel in towards your bum. Right rib cage is wrapping upward. And then release the foot. Take your left hand down toward the mat. Wiggle your left foot to the outside, your left hand to the inside. So toes are out, heels are in. Tuck the back toes, lift up the back knee. Find a little bit of buoyancy, little bit of movement. We're gonna step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. One step or several, move on and exhale, maybe a little sharp exhale to help you move, like so. Toes out, heels in. Release your hips down toward the mat. Elbows towards the insides of your thighs, palms pressed together. Make any adjustments you need with props so that your heels can remain down toward the mat as well. Long, slow breaths. And does anything change when you change the focus of your eyes? If you look at one point that is fixed. Are there any changes if you allow your eyelids to close? If this feels unstable, like you might fall, then please open your eyes. Just several more breaths here. After a whole day, that's it. And slowly release your hands down toward the mat. Allow your hips to lift up by your legs becoming straighter. Heel toe your feet back into that hips width distance. Inhale, halfway lift, look out. Exhale, fold. 2 more times like that. And then begin to bend your knees, sitting your hips low, eventually until your bum hits all the way onto the mat, and then rock onto your back. Pull your knees into your chest, wind relieving pose once again. As we did toward the beginning of the class, rocking gently from side to side. Noting the pressure, sensation, experience on the back of your body. Be more alert, less alert. Simply making a comparison, not judging good or bad, just witnessing and observing. We're going to take a supported shoulder stand here. I will not be using a prop here. My arms alongside my body, palms down, extending my feet up toward the ceiling. Legs don't have to be straight. You can bend your knees here. If you've got a prop, you could sit underneath your bum. Or if you've got a wall nearby, feel free to take a version that's much more like Viparita Karani, legs up wall. 3 more breaths. And after that third exhale, start to bend your knees, slowly releasing your feet down toward the mat. Maybe feeling the blood rush back. And then I invite you to take a similar or different shape from the beginning of class. We're going to move to our final posture of this class, which is Shavasana. Perhaps you take a traditional Shavasana with your legs outstretched, your arms a little further away from your torso, or maybe taking a Supta Baddha Konasana, or another posture that best suits you. Again, if lying on your back is not an option today, simply know that, and then choose a seated posture that is best. Allow your practice to synthesize this connection of body, movement, breath, intention. Allow everything to soften. Allow release. Allow surrender. Allow being. Notice your next soft inhale and soft exhale. And then slowly allow your next breath to be larger, more nourishing, your exhale deeper and more satisfying. And then start to explore some movement in your extremities, allowing to grow larger. Taking any movements that feel right, feel necessary. Drawing your thoughts back to your dedication, allowing this to be a physical embodiment. And then as you're ready, roll over onto one side, your eyes closed. Note you can transition your practice from asana to your practice off of your mat, and then transition to a seated posture of your choice for a very brief reflection and meditation. On an inhale, bring your arms out and up, palms to press above you. And on an exhale, take your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows for clarity of thought, to your lips for clarity of speech, and then down to your heart for clarity of action. Bow your head to your heart in honor and in humility and in gratitude. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me, and thank you for trusting me to guide you in your practice. Thank you for being my teacher. I'm eternally grateful for you, and I cannot wait to see how you do your practice out in the world. I'll be seeking my guidance from you. In the name of the highest good, namaste, Satchitananda.